Blessings and welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today, I know I say a lot that today was a good read, and every day I say that it's a good read. Today is one of those days where, especially chapter 6, chapter 5, are so good that, I don't even want to give commentary to the words because they're so plain and clear and so deep in meaning and so important for the instruction of our lives and who we are, that if please go back and read Galatians 4 through 6 if you haven't read it coming into this, and don't read it fast. Just soak it in. Find you a good quiet place for 30 minutes or 20 minutes and just read and try and understand what Paul's telling you here, because this is foundational. And if you can get this, what Paul's teaching today, man, you'll be so into the Spirit for a long time to come. It's just, it can't be, for me, it can't be explained any better than the way Paul explains it. And I'm going to do we've got a law enforcement takeaway that was really cool in chapter 4. I may speak a little bit. Let's get into it. Paul is still speaking to new Christians in these new churches that they founded. But if you remember what we talked about a couple of days ago, the people, as Paul and Barnabas left and went to start other churches, there was Jews that came in behind them and told the church that they had helped to build that they had to be circumcised. So the people are getting confused and getting circumcised. Now, Paul is circling back around for a second visit, a follow-up visit with these churches. And he's already addressed this with the Jewish council, but he's having to go back to these churches and undo what was done when they sent Jews behind Paul and said, hey, you got to be circumcised. Now Paul's coming back around for like a third visit. It's Paul, it was the Jews, now Paul's the third, 1, 2, 3, third around, even though it's only Paul's second visit. But Paul's coming back around saying, don't listen to what they said. It was a mistake. I've already talked to them about it. Do not get circumcised. You don't have to get circumcised. So that's the point Paul's making today, and he is distinguishing between circumcision for religious purposes, being flesh, and and not being circumcised and just being in the Spirit. Now, most men today are circumcised on the 8th day, just like Genesis said, but it's not for religious purposes. So don't trip yourself up or stumble over that. Circumcision is done today for medical reasons, and that's why God told the Jews to do it to begin with. It was for their health, but it was also a religious practice to set them apart from the rest of the world. Today we still do that, but we don't do it as a religious practice. We don't do it as a good Jew, because most 90-something% of us aren't Jews. So if you're circumcised like I am, but you didn't get circumcised for religious reasons, and even if you did, so what? It doesn't mean anything. Paul even says that. Paul was circumcised, but he's like, my circumcision means nothing because it's not it's not something that keeps me tied to the law and the flesh. I am spirit. I have been set free by Jesus Christ and his resurrection. And we have to get over that hurdle. That's why he spends so much time talking about this today. And that's why 5 and 6 are so important, because we got to get past the flesh and into the Spirit. And before I run out of time, let me get through some of the cool things in 4. Again, I've got notes here of why Paul's explaining this, and I've already talked about it, so let me skip down through these. There was one really neat verse in 4:16 that I think all law enforcement will get, and I think it is important and is true of a statement today as it was the day Paul spoke it. Now, all law enforcement officers, if you're on SWAT or if you're a detective or whatever, if you're in a specialized division and you're no longer, maybe you promoted up, maybe you're no longer in patrol anymore. I spent the majority of my 30-year career, probably 27, 28 years in patrol. I just loved patrol. It's where my heart was. And even if I would leave, I wouldn't be gone long. I'd have to come back to patrol, because that's what I was called to do. So if even if you're in a specialized division, you had to have spent some time as a trainee in the patrol division doing traffic stops. So I'm using traffic stops because I think that's something we've all done, at least in the beginning of our career, and all law enforcement officers understand the traffic stop. So I'll read the verse. It says, so have I become your enemy by telling you the truth? That's Paul's question to the Jews. Have I become your enemy because I have told you the truth, because I have revealed truth to you? Very much like a traffic stop. We've all pulled people over. They knew they were guilty. They knew they were speeding. They knew they ran their stop sign, but they're still upset with you for stopping them. It's not because you stopped them for what they did wrong. It's because you called them out on what they did wrong. And by calling them out, the Bible talks about exposing darkness with truth, shining your light in that dark space, and revealing what is really going on. When you stop somebody for running a red light, running a stop sign, and they get angry with you, they're angry because you're exposing them to the truth, and you're revealing their sin or what they did wrong, their criminal activity. And it's hard to say running a stop sign is criminal activity until they run it and hit somebody and kill them. But sin is sin. Crime is crime. I mean, you can look at it that way. But when you pull somebody over and they get upset with you, and you can tell they know what they did was wrong, and they don't even try to argue. Well, I almost stopped at that stop sign. I rolled through it, but I slowed down to about 5 or 10 before I proceeded on. They know what they did was wrong, but they're upset with you for calling them out, for telling them, hey, what you did was wrong. The truth of the matter is you should have come to a complete stop. I'm not advocating that running a stop sign is the worst crime ever. I'm just that example of revealing truth. And this verse, man, you can write this on the front of your ticket book, and always remember that you are exposing truth when you make this traffic stop. Okay? Don't let them make you feel guilty for stopping them. Go back and read. So have I become your enemy by telling you the truth? Really? I just love that verse. That is such a law enforcement verse. Anyway, Jesus came to free us from sin and death by his sacrifice on the cross. This is Galatians 5:1. And then I've got a little time. I'm going to read Galatians 5:16 through 23. And after I do, stop this and you read Galatians chapter 6 on your own. 5:16 through 23. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh is against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, fighting. For these are in opposition to one another, in order to keep you from doing whatever you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Nor the deeds of the flesh, now the deeds of the flesh are evident, these are the deeds of the flesh: sexual immorality, impurity, indecent behavior, idolatry, witchcraft, hostilities, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissension, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and things like those, of which I forewarn you, just as I have forewarned you, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. 6:2 says, bear one another's burdens, for thereby fulfill the law of Christ. Please read chapter 6. And read all of the book of James, because that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. In the meantime, you guys be safe.